the late season. Turned out it wasn't. And the Timberwolves still have Ant. Who do you
All right, so welcome to the Blue Review. We're just going to start all over completely right here. So Blue Review is brought to you by LAX. Changes are arriving daily, transforming the travel experience. And for more information, go to flylax.com/transforminglax. Again, so if you just joined us, Marcus Grant, who loves to play at MLB The Show, but he's still trying to figure it out, and Jeff Spiegel from Dodger Blue is on with today, and we did a whole show last night from 9 to about 10:15, and I found something out, Marcus. I found something out about Jeff. I'm really excited about it. Now I'm getting feedback. So I found out that Jeff are you getting the feedback?
For the strikeouts, and everybody's like, I get in trouble every time I point out that he's 0 for with a 40% strikeout rate, but then it's like as soon as Chris Taylor's name comes up, it's like, deport this guy and ship him off to who knows where. So I just, I'm pro the person Austin Barnes. I don't care too much about who the backup catcher is. I just feel bad for Hunter Fiducia because I think in any other org he'd have like 3 years of service time at this point.
Yeah, I look at right, as you're describing it, right? I think part of the reason is Austin Barnes is sort of like, I mean, Greg, you'll remember this. You remember Jack Haley in the NBA, right? The guy who sort of hung around in the league because his job was Dennis Rodman whisperer, right? Like he would go from team to team. Like somebody would sign Rodman for, his ability to rebound and whatever he did, play defense. But you needed somebody to sort of keep Dennis in line. And that was Jack Haley's job for a long time. And so I think for a long time, Austin Barnes kind of got a pass because he was Clayton Kershaw's personal catcher. It's getting a little bit harder to sort of justify that as Kershaw's getting to the end of his career and the fact that we're not going to see him for a while this season. So I get where you're coming from because Jeff, backup catchers are generally seen as lovable and harmless and nobody really cares much about them. Chris Taylor, you're a utility player who doesn't seem to be providing any utility. And I guess that's maybe the difference.
Yeah, it's fair. And people just love Barnes. This is my least popular take by far. I have many unpopular takes, but for whatever reason, Barnes is just, and that's why Greg brings it up because he just wants to just poke and prod and say, just get people riled up. So here we are on a Friday morning. I'm out here spouting unpopular takes again. Greg, congratulations.
Hey, you have to understand, Jeff, that it's not a villain is not because you don't like the right. person. Like last year when it was Alex Vesia, it's not that I disliked Alex Vesia, the person. He was just giving up 3-run home runs consistently, like Pedro Baez. So he was the guy that when I saw him coming to the game, it was just like, oh, geez, what is he going to do this time? And then he would immediately give up a home run early in the season. So I was justified in that. So you can have a villain in Austin Barnes and still like the guy. That's totally fine. And also, I do believe, and I really want to get everybody else, Marcus, I want to get you involved in it, and I want to get Parker when he's back. We should all have at least one. I think it's just fun.
I'm cruising the 40-man, trying to figure out who sort of falls in that line for me. I'm going to have to workshop this over the weekend and come back with one because I do feel a little bit left out. I want the chat to yell at me about something occasionally too, so I got to figure this one out.
All right, I feel like
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to corner the market, Greg, but Miguel Rojas, I'm kind of out on Miguel Rojas also. So I know that's like sort of low-hanging fruit, but if you want to just add to my list, throw him the whole just what he provides on the field, the more the stories come out about this Jazz situation, I'm just kind of out on that guy too. So there's another one.
See, I kind of agree with you on Rojas. It's just that he's kind of just a little bit past his prime. If you want to reach into the Andy Pages train, because I haven't gotten on that one yet, you're welcome to take that guy. Yeah. I mean, there's always fun, and also the great thing about it is they can get better, and that's a good thing. So that's what you hope for. Another thing that happened last night, and I think this might be just a retake of everything we talked about last night. And Marcus, I want to get your opinion on this. There was a really good question. We were talking about the starting lineups. And going into September or October, if they actually went with a 5-man rotation, who your 5-man rotation would be?
As of this moment,
was that Jeff?
I was just the caveat that we had was if everybody's healthy, if everybody somehow makes it to September, still alive, arms intact.
Yeah. So as of this moment, in no particular order, I'll give you Yamamoto, Snell, Glass now. So that's 3. The last 2 spots are going to be tough. I think I'm going to go probably with. I think you got to get Sasaki in there.
So I'll give you Shohei is probably going to be pitching at that point.
Okay, well if Shohei's in there, then he's the 5th guy. So then, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, is it Sasaki? Is it a healthy Gonsolin? Is it Dustin May? Right. You know what? Actually, let me flip flop. Let me move Sasaki out and we put Dustin May in there.
So you and I, Marcus, totally in line.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff. Who's your 5th?
It's the GOAT. Marcus didn't even mention my guy, Clayton Kershaw. Fully healthy. He's going to be there. Just 2.5 ERA. Pencil it in, you know?
Okay. But so then here's the question. There's a he will be there versus a he should be there. And so, is it a will or a should? Because those are 2 different conversations.
No, I told Greg last night, I think it's both. And the reason a week ago, I would have said Dustin May. After the first start that he had, it's like, what are all my concerns about Dustin May? Cool. He answered every single one of them. He's getting swing and miss. He's able to look just as nasty, but then convert that to strikeouts. Then his second start comes, and it's all of your fears about Dustin May are confirmed. Where I think he got 1 or 2 swings and misses, two whiffs like the entirety of the game. Gets hit around a little bit, and so that's what gives me pause there. I'm a Gonsolin fan, but my point to Greg last night was Kershaw, when he's healthy, just has always been good. Like aside from his last 2 starts last year when he's trying to pitch through the injuries. He was like a 2.5 ERA guy last year. He was a 2.5 ERA guy the year before that. He was a 2.5 ERA guy the year before that. He has been great when healthy. And so if we're assuming health, I think he will and should actually be a part of that group.
See, in my whole argument, he's not wrong. How much Kershaw means to this organization and first ballot Hall of Famer, all that stuff that you want to go through the whole preamble. I feel like if Clayton Kershaw is actually pitching in the postseason, something went terribly wrong with this pitching staff. You have all of this depth. You have all of these guys. You have the Gonsolins and the Mays and the Sasakis that are supposed to be there to shore that up. Now, luckily, we also don't have a 5-man rotation in the playoffs. That's just not something that they typically do. If anything, it goes up to 4. But if this was the situation for me, I just don't see Clayton Kershaw being the guy that we want to see in the postseason anymore. I'd rather see a guy like Sasaki, Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin in that sense.
Here's the good news to this, though, right? Based on past history, it's a 4-man. It'll be a 4-man rotation in the sense it'll probably be like Yamamoto, Snell, Glass now, and then bullpen. Like that's going to be your 4th man. In which case, you will probably see Clayton Kershaw along with Sasaki and May and Gonsolin and Bonda and the list goes on and on and on. So one way or another, if all these guys are healthy, which history suggests that won't be the case, but if they are, I think we see all those arms in the postseason.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't assume we're assuming health, and I don't assume that Clayton Kershaw is going to be
sort of like you don't assume a double play, right? Like
right, yeah.
You just don't assume health.
Just can't do it. I understand that's what the question was, but at the same time, I don't assume that Clayton Kershaw will be healthy. I think he's going to get to his 3,000 strikeouts, and he's going to go as long as he can after that, and then he'll just call it quits. All right, so I think there's some other stuff that we got to get into, and we'll start with you, Jeff. Mookie Betts is playing shortstop. We've gone back and forth with Mookie Betts at shortstop, whether he should be playing there, whether he should not be playing there. He has a couple errors already. and it just still doesn't seem really all that comfortable. There was a really nice play that he had in the Nationals game, in one of the Nationals games, where he had a diving play to his left, spun, got up in the outfield grass and gunned a runner out at first. That was really nice. But what do you think of Mookie at short as of right now? Should he stay? Should they get more time? Should he move?
Totally fine with it. I think he's fine. I don't think I ever expected him to be elite at shortstop. I joked that I thought he'd be a Gold Glove nominee only because Gold Glove nominees mean nothing, and typically that has no reflection on if you're actually good. But I just think he's fine. I think if this was anybody else playing that position, we wouldn't be nitpicking and overanalyzing every little mistake that he's making. That's part of it. The second is Tommy Edman is an incredible second baseman defensively. I think he's a good to very good center fielder, and I think he's a good to very good shortstop. So I just think like the upgrade that you would get moving somebody like Edman to shortstop and then having to move Mookie to second base or wherever you remove him, I just don't think the net is really all that much positive because you're losing something defensively at second to gain it at short. Short's a more valuable position. But at the end of the day, I think Mookie's been fine. I think he's going to get better from here on out. And I'm glad you made that point of the play that he did make, because he has had a couple really nice, difficult, non-routine plays that he's made. And as long as those keep popping up, no complaints from me.
I also think your point about it being who it is and us sort of nitpicking, I think is a fair one, because when I go back and think about it, right, like, is he really that much worse than Trey Turner? Trey Turner was a butcher at shortstop, right? And the difference is, I feel like we can sort of count on Mookie's offense a little more consistently. I mean, I know last year there's a whole big thing. Can Mookie hit in the playoffs? And then Mookie hit in the playoffs and we all shut up. He at least, I think, gives you a more consistent bat at the plate. He gives you everything else offensively that Trey Turner did. And I think he is the equal. Maybe Turner is slightly better because he's been doing it longer. But I don't, I think if we're going back, Corey Seager, maybe the last time they had like a really great all-around shortstop there. But since then, I think they've been just good enough. And I think Mookie in the long term is good enough. The other part of this, Greg, is if you move him, who do you put there, right? I mean, after we just spent the earlier part of the show, sort of, dumping on Miguel Rojas, right? We Jeff was willing to put Chris Taylor on an ice floe and ship him out to sea. Who are we putting at shortstop if it's not going to be Mookie Betts right now?
So, I mean, I think there's a couple things that you can do. And I'm not saying move Mookie at all. I've been very clear that I don't want him at shortstop. The three most important positions in defense, as we all know, is a straight line right down the middle. It's the center field, shortstop, catcher. Those are the three most important defensive positions for the most part. I do think that you can move Tommy Edman there. I think he's a great anywhere that you put him and move Mookie to second. Mookie plays a totally fine second base. I know most people would want Mookie in right field because he's a Gold Glove right fielder. He obviously does not want to play in the outfield. He did it last year because it was a necessity. He doesn't want to play in the outfield. He wants to play in the infield. So I would put him at second. And if we're leaving Pages there at center field for now, we can get into the whole Pages part of it. There's other guys that can play center field. I think those two positions are so important that you still get the bat, and at second base, he plays a good second base, and you have the defense in the bat of Tommy Edman at shortstop. I think those two, that your infield is much better that way, and your up and down line is much better that way too. So that's just the way that I would look at it. I think Mookie wants to play short, and he's going to, and I understand it, and it's okay with it. But in a perfect world, he's not playing shortstop.
The one thing I would say is I think we are seeing the worst version defensively of Mookie Betts at shortstop right now. Like, sure. I think we can project improvement from him moving forward. So given where he's at now, if you're telling me this is the worst version, it's not going to get worse than what we've seen, no complaints for me personally. And I get everything you just said. Don't disagree with it. I just think he's going to be fine. And eventually the discourse around it is going to fade because he's going to be plenty good enough.
I also think the part of this is the one thing that I think we've all consistently said was, yeah, maybe it's not ideal. It's going to be rough, but I think we all agree if there's anybody on this roster, maybe anybody in Major League Baseball who can make this change, it's Mookie Betts, So I think we all look at it as there's improvement coming. In the meantime, what he gives you offensively is enough to sort of, overlook some of this stuff and to sort of be patient with some of the rough spots that you get there because, you're going to want him in the lineup every single day. He's going to continue to work and get better at this. Whatever. It's a rough patch. And look, guys, I'd rather have a rough patch in April than a rough patch in September.
Yep.
Yeah. 100%. And I totally agree with it. And he will get better because he's Mookie Betts. And also, I think I heard on the broadcast as Eric Karros was talking about it. I think he said that Trey Turner was maybe statistically the worst shortstop last year. Is that
that sounds about right?
It sounds about right. So, I mean, you can get away with things like that, but also they got knocked out pretty early. So, defense is such a big part of this Dodgers team. They're coming into season saying, we want to be shored up in every single thing that we possibly can be. We want to have the best pitching. We want to have the best hitting. We want to have the best defense. We want to have the best coach. We want to have the best bullpen, all of that stuff. They want to have the best of everything. And they want to leave nothing to chance. It just seems like if Mookie continues to be at an average or right around or a little below average, it seems like that might be something that they change. Either way, we have another series coming up against the Cubs. The Cubs, Marcus, are playing very, very good baseball. They're hitting the hell out of the ball. I think last time I looked at it, I think they were right around the top in runs scored. So we've already played them once, and we actually finished with the Cubs in just about a couple of weeks here. But Yamamoto, Glasnow, and May this weekend. I think are they moving Sasaki? I don't know. This is all weird to me. It was Sasaki was supposed to be tomorrow. Then it was Yamamoto. What are you looking forward to this weekend?
I just want to see this team put together a complete game, like a full game, because I don't think we have seen that yet, right? We have seen, games where they hit, but maybe the pitching was a little bit shaky or the defense was a little bit shaky. The games where they don't make errors, the bats have kind of fallen asleep. We've talked about the bullpen, like Trinan kind of being off a little bit. We saw some poor starts from fill-in guys in Wrobleski and Knack, but still poor starts nonetheless. I just would like to see this team come out and put everything together for 9 innings. Have them jump out to a lead. Have them play solid defense. Get a solid 6, dare I say 7 out of a starter, and then have the bullpen come in and shut down the rest of it. And that may be a lot to ask against a really good offensive team, but we saw them have a decent series against them in Japan. I just want to see this team sort of shake off the malaise that we have seen the first week and a half, 2 weeks of the season and look kind of like the team we've been anticipating all year.
Yeah, for me, I'm excited. There's speculation Freddie Freeman's going to be returning tonight for his bobblehead night. And this would be the third time that you get Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman all in the lineup together this season. So hopefully there's a jolt there. That you can get just filling out the lineup a little bit more, moving everybody down a spot and kind of settling into maybe where people should appropriately be is what I'm looking for. So hopefully the offense comes through. Freddie, a big hit on his bobblehead night wouldn't hurt anybody.
All right, and Jeff, what about Yamamoto tonight? Because he has, in my mind, he's been pitching fantastic all season long. There's been a little hiccups here and there. He still is prone to a home run or two. But what are you thinking about Yamamoto's pitching performance so far?
I think it's been great. I mean, the swing and miss stuff that he's seemingly taking the leap that I think some of us were hoping for and expecting prior to the season. And, I don't think it's a coincidence that when the three of us were all answering, hey, who's our 5 starters in a 5-man rotation? It was in no particular order, and yet Yamamoto was the first name out of all 3 of our mouths, I think. And I'm not saying he's better than Snell or he's better than Glasnow when healthy or whatever, but I think it goes to show that with the way he started this year, I definitely think in the minds of most people, he is closer to 1 than he is to 4 in the Dodgers rotation, which I don't think a lot of people necessarily would have said that at the end of last season.
What about you, Marcus?
I think you just want to see him build upon what he has done the first couple of starts, right? And I think in some ways we didn't get the full measure of him because he missed such a long stretch last year, right? He gets hurt. He's out for a couple of months. The one thing we did learn about him is that he's there for the big games. He's going to show up, but we never really got the measure of what he is like start to start, kind of sort of the day in, day out of it over the course of 6 months or so. So I think it's just about sort of continuing to build on what we've seen from him the first couple of starts. Greg, you and I talked about, are we going to get to a point where, hashtag Yoshi Day becomes a thing, right? Where, when he takes the ball on that 6th day or whatever it is, that you are pretty much going to be in line for a win. And I think, whatever we see from him tonight, I think is hopefully a positive step toward that continuing.
Yeah, and then just a little bit about Sasaki too. Outside of the fact that they're both Japanese, Yamamoto and Sasaki kind of have the same set of same skills, with they use their fastball to offset the splitter. Yamamoto has more pitches. Sasaki really just has the 2, but even that second pitch, is the splitter of his kind of goes in very many directions and looks like a slider. But is this something that Yamamoto and Sasaki are just working together and saying like, hey, attack the strike zone, and then that splitter you can use to offset it, and you can strike guys out and get that swing and miss?
Yeah, we've had some pitching sort of guru nerd type folks come on our show and talk about the splitter that Sasaki has, and it's nasty, right? The problem is if you can't throw it even remotely close to the strike zone, then guys are going to see it out of hand and just not swing at it. I think there was one of the games that Sasaki had, he threw like 14 of them and one would have landed in the zone. And so as a result, he got like 2 swings on the pitch. I think what Yamamoto has done more effectively is locate stuff in the zone and make his pitches at least threatening. If Sasaki can get to a place where guys have to respect the splitter and can't just take it and wait and sit on fastballs, I think that's going to be different, because both of these guys, the fastball doesn't grade out super well according to, kind of the metrics, but it's the threat of the splitter that makes your fastball better. Right now, Yamamoto's fastball actually grades out, like as far as effectiveness, is one of the most effective fastballs in baseball. And I don't think it's because his fastball has gotten better. I think it's because the mix of 5 pitches that he can throw catches people off guard when he actually does buzz, 95, 96 into the zone.
Right. All right. Well, we are running out of time. I just looked down and it says 8:54. So we got to get to Travis DeMarco. Sorry, Marcus, not to get you on that topic right there. But we'll be back on Monday. Jeff, where can we find you? Tell us all about Dodger Blue and Dodger Heads.
Yeah, Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube. The Dodger Head shows live Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights. I will say we had Eric Gagne, one of my personal favorite Dodgers of all time. He was on the show. We recorded an interview with him. He actually owns a bat company, and they were one of the first ones doing torpedo bats. So if you want to hear from Gagne and learn a little bit about that, you can check out Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube.
Thank you very much. Marcus, have a great weekend. Jeff, have a great weekend. Thank you, everybody in the chat. And as always, thank you to LAX. That'll do it for us. We'll be back on Monday at 8:30 on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. See you.